Alright, hello. I was finally able to get my S2-C and I've been really enjoying my time with it so far. So today I'm excited to give some quick thoughts about this as well as compare it to the old classic Zowie S2. So we all know that the new Zowie C series are very premium products. They have excellent build quality. You have no creaks, no flexes in hand, and they overall feel very solid. And now we also know that they're very durable because FedEx was able to durability test my mouse for me. This is literally how I received my mouse right out of the box from FedEx. This is absolutely egregious in my opinion. Because mind you, this box actually looks better than when I initially received it. I had to straighten out some of the curves in it just to remove the mouse from the inside. It was more bent than you see here, like this way. It is absolutely crazy and just genuinely unacceptable from FedEx because my package was also delayed by about a week. I didn't receive this mouse right on time. It just sat in a warehouse doing who knows what. Apparently people were playing baseball with it or something. I don't know how a package can receive it like this because this even came in another larger box that looks even worse. They had to coat the box in tape just to get it to hold together. I do not know how you receive a package that is this damaged. So FedEx delivery, 2 out of 10 experience. I was able to get my package eventually and my mouse does still work. But really, guys, like, come on. How do you do this? I've never received something like this before. But Zowie build quality, on the other hand, absolute 10 out of 10. There's 0 flaws with this mouse, despite how this box looked. Because even the plastic enclosing that this mouse comes in was also crinkled, so there was physical stress on the mouse itself, and I have no issues whatsoever. So huge props to Zowie for high quality products and high quality packaging. I'm sure if this was a glorious, like a Cooler Master mouse, I probably would have pulled it out in 2 pieces. So this, big ups on Zowie, absolutely terrible shit from FedEx. Come on, guys. What is this? Alright, so now onto the mouse itself. I've been really enjoying this, as I said, and I really only have 2 fairly mild issues. The first of which is the scroll wheel. It is back to the very loose and just generally crappy feeling of the EC3 I have. This is honestly very disappointing because with the Zowie FK2C, they have proved that they know how to make a good, high-quality scroll wheel in their new 24-step design. On the FK2, it feels very crisp, very tightly defined steps, but now back on the S2, it is back to that very loose, very almost rattly feeling that I personally really don't like. It also has the same issues of too much play before you can actually get a click to actuate and sometimes getting stuck in between steps at the very end of scrolls. This, I think, is genuinely unacceptable because the FK2, it's a perfect scroll wheel. It's right here. You know how to make it in the exact same form factor. I don't know how you messed it up and you're just porting it over to the S2. I am very frustrated by this because the scroll wheel still works, but it could be so much better. There's a perfect example right here. All you had to do was just port the old scroll design over and they just missed the mark. And I'm really disappointed. The LOD adjustment on this mouse is also just straight non-functional. The stock states are very thin, so you experience a very high LOD on them regardless of what setting you use. Whether you go high or low, the difference is honestly minuscule. I could only notice it when I'm really looking forward and testing it, but in-game, they all feel exactly the same, so I'd say that it just functionally does not work. However, I did notice that once I replaced them with core pads, which are noticeably thicker than the stock states, I don't have any issues, and with the low setting, it's back to a pretty standard feeling low lift-off distance that you see on other mice. But if you're someone that still likes the stock feet, like you like that very controlled feeling of them, then you're going to have to deal with the high LOD. It's not as bad as something like the Viper Mini per se, but it is still noticeably higher than most other mice's low setting. But these 2 differences are honestly pretty mild, and I still really enjoy my time. I don't think they really detract from the experience at all. Because even though I did really like lambast the scroll wheel, I don't hate it. It is still usable. It's just frustrating. Because it could be so much better. And they've proved that they can make a better 24-step scroll. Alright, so now I'm just going to talk about the S2 shape for those that are uninitiated. So of course the S2C uses the same classic shape as the S2, which is probably the most cloned claw grip shape. Like most claw grip mice, it follows the same design principle of having a hump that quickly rises. It has its highest point towards the back of the mouse and then tapers out towards the front to create an overall lower button height. This is something that you see on most common claw grip mice like the XM1, Burst Pro, etc. This design feels really good because it allows you to get a nice amount of reinforcement on the hump while still allowing for a good range of motion and feeling of control with the mouse. Where the S2 differs from these other claw grip mice, though, is in the overall width of the hump. It feels much more narrow compared to something like the XM1, Burst Pro, or the NP01. All 3 of these mice feel significantly wider in hand at the very back of the hump because you notice a much more aggressive flare as it comes towards the back of the mouse. The S2, in comparison, does still have that same flare, but it is noticeably not as wide. This makes it so that the XM1 fills out this part of her hand much less than other mice. I feel that I have much more range of motion due to this. Rather than the XM1, for example, that really forces my hand to expand in this direction, like out right here in the 2 points where it contacts. I feel that I can get much more narrow with the S2 and really allow for a greater range of motion without the hump inhibiting my movements. The shape of the top of the mouse also supports this. As you can see, it has a very flat design throughout the entirety of the hump. That makes it so that it doesn't fill out this middle part of your hand as you curl your hand up during your claw grip. The XM1, for example, has a very diamond shape, as you can see it rotating through. You can also see the Burst Pro here has a much more rounded shape. Once again, this allows the S2 shape to feel much more maneuverable in your hand due to a lower amount of contact. The flat shape also makes the hump feel generally more boxy. I feel that the only points of contact I really make on the S2's humps are right here and here, rather than the entire hump tucking into the back of my hand. Therefore, I still get stability from reinforcing my grip at these 2 points of the hump, but I never feel that the hump fills out my entire hand and prevents me from making movements. The sides of this mouse also offer the same balance of both stability and maneuverability. As you can see, there's still a ridge for you to place your thumb in and get a good solid grip, as well as a ridge for you to reinforce your pinky on. I feel that this gives me a lot of stability and allows me to get a nice solid grip on this hand. However, the top portion of the curve on this mouse is relatively flat, so I feel that it gives me a lot of freedom in where I want to place my fingers along this curve. During normal use, I feel a lot of freedom for how I want to grip this mouse. I can have a more relaxed grip where my fingers are straighter and I still feel very supported. I can also curl them back much more. I feel this is due to the relatively flat sides and how they allow you to place your fingers honestly wherever you want across the entire length of the mouse. So overall, I feel that the S2 is a very rounded claw grip shape. It offers a great balance between stability and maneuverability without feeling like it really sacrifices either. Personally, I feel that the hump allows me to make very quick adjustments with my wrist, but also not get in the way of these smaller finger adjustments for micro corrections. This is something that I can seemingly seldom find on a mouse because I feel that you either have to take a trade-off. But with this, I feel like I truly get the best of both worlds, and I'm really enjoying it. The S2 shape certainly gets my highest recommendation for anybody looking for a claw grip mouse. If you have not tried the shape yet, I would highly recommend the S2-C for your next pickup. I think that you will find a way for this mouse to work for you and you will really enjoy it. I cannot recommend it enough. So now on to some comparisons to the OG S2. Overall, I feel that the S2-C is a massive improvement of pretty much everything that I disliked about the S2. It is honestly quite impressive what Zowie has done with the new C series when you have them side by side like this. So of course, the biggest difference between these two mice is the weight. The classic S2 weighs in at the mid 80 gram range. Personally, I still find this to be usable, but it still feels very uncomfortable during long sessions. I feel that I have to rely less on these small wrist and finger movements and instead move to more arm aim. Because of the higher weight, genuinely I can feel straining my joints more. I have minor RSI problems, and I just find that the mid 80 gram range just aggravates these problems. It's still usable, but during long sessions, I just find it to be uncomfortable. And over a few days of use, I can feel the strain start to build up and just cause more issues for me overall. The S2-C, on the other hand, weighs in around the 75 gram range, and I feel that this makes a huge difference. 10 grams is really a game changer. I have zero issues with uncomfortability with this mouse, and I can use it for long sessions with absolutely no problems. I also felt that with the old S2, the front of the mouse was a little bit too bulky to make these small adjustments. I have now learned, though, that this is only the weight getting in the way. At the new S2, I feel I can make the small adjustments very easily. The entirety of this difference just came from the weight. Now that I can actually use these small fingered movements, I have no problems with the front of this mouse. What I initially thought was bulkiness now just makes the mouse more comfortable due to its lower weight. The next biggest change is the coating. The old S2 has a very plasticky feeling coating that I feel picks up a lot of sweats and fingerprints. I can feel my fingers slide around when I start to use this mouse during longer sessions, and I feel sweat starting to build up across it. The new S2-C, on the other hand, I have zero issues with this. I can still adjust my fingers on the fly because the coating isn't quite that sticky, super grippy feeling of something like the XM1, for example, but I still have no issues with my fingers sliding around when I don't intend them to. I didn't like the flat sides of the old S2 because I could constantly feel my fingers sliding up and down them. I initially attributed this to just the lack of concavity on the sides, but now I know that's the coating because I don't have the problem on this mouse. Once again, these updated features are making me completely reconsider the shape, even though they're exactly the same. All these tiny differences contribute to make the mouse feel completely different in hand, and overall much better in my opinion. The clicks, I feel, are also a huge improvement. On the old S2, I feel that they're a little bit too light and don't bounce back quickly enough. This makes them a little bit difficult to spam because I feel that they don't reach their initial position quickly enough. The S2-C's clicks feel firm and much more crisp. I feel them bouncing back much more quickly, which allows me to spam click them with much more comfort. You can tell this difference of tension in how they sound. Here's the new S2. And here's the classic. You can tell the old S2 clicks are much lighter because of how much higher pitched they are, while the new S2 clicks are much lower and more thocky, which helps them be more tactile and overall stiffer. The scroll wheel is also different, and while I will say that the S2-C is an improvement, I am disappointed by how small of an improvement it is. They really have a quite similar feel in their amount of looseness. However, the new 24-step scroll wheel on the S2-C is much more comfortable for general page browsing. I felt in the old Zowie mice I'd have to constantly spam the scroll wheel just to get down to the bottom of the page, but now with 24 steps as opposed to 16, it's just much more comfortable. Once again, I still wish that the scroll wheel on the C was better, but it is an improvement from their old, so you can take what you get. Now, the cable was also another thing changed with the C series. I don't have the classic Zowie cable on my S2 because I did paracord it, but I will say that the new C series cord is honestly comparable to an aftermarket paracord. I genuinely do not feel the need to upgrade this whatsoever. I don't notice the stock cable on the C series any more than I notice the paracord on the classic series. So genuinely, this new cord has absolutely no issues, and I don't anticipate that you will need to replace it, unless for like aesthetic reasons. If you really like the purple and black look of this current cord I have, and you just want that. So all in all, I've been really enjoying the S2-C. I feel that Zowie has not missed with their C series. They're just all so good mice, and I'm enjoying every single one of them, but the S2 is really starting to rise up the ranks. It feels absolutely incredible to use, and I'm just having a blast. I'm also performing really well with it. If you saw the Kovacs compilation that I uploaded earlier than this video, I'm already setting some really good scores with this, and I'm feeling incredibly confident with it in game. I'm planning on using it more and really seeing where it slots in with my current batch of wired mice. I'm thinking that it's definitely going to take a spot in the main rotation, but only time will tell. Maybe some more flaws will show up with time. But I really anticipate this mouse to be one of my favorites to use in the future. Alright, thank you all for watching. I'm planning on coming up with more videos in the future. See you next time. Peace.